Welcome everyone to our second session of this final day. Today we have sensory curations beyond traditional game exhibits. This session is being recorded and you are all invited to have the cameras on, but please turn them off if that makes you feel more comfortable. You can check the code of conduct. We will be pasting all this in the chat. And we're about to get started. Let me introduce you all to Merlina Rañi. Okay, Merlina will be our host today, and I have met her quite a while ago in Argentina. Actually, I think we never met in person until we both ended up living here in Barcelona. So the magic of Gaia of getting us all together. And Merlina is, she has been working a lot. She's an amazing digital media curator and researcher, and she specializes in virtual environments and their connection with physicality. You can read more about her on the chat. And Merlina, I will hand this to you.
Well, thank you very much, Lujan, and thank you for having me. Well, I have the pleasure of being the host of this fantastic panel with our guests, Heather Kelley, and Peter Devish. And well, today we are aimed to reflect about the relationship between space, bodies, and games, because we know that every game creates a symbolic field. A world is created between the game rules in which we can play and engage. And along with our guests, we will explore various applications of this concept around questions of, for example, how these emerging worlds can be expressed in physical spaces, or what challenges this kind of experience might present to our bodies and to our perception. So I will introduce you to Peter, who will start first with his presentation. Peter Devish works as a music programmer and a festival coordinator at the Cultural Center of Bruges, which organizes stage and visual art across several theaters in the city. Every 2 years, they transform their main Old City theater into a massive arcade hall for the Playtime Festival. The festival presents games aimed to a young audience with connections to art and society, to introduce playful art as a recognized art form. So with our guests, we will explore case studies and develop some ideas for to reflect on these topics. So Peter, I hand it over to you, and when you wish, you can start with your presentation.
Thank you. Thank you for the introduction. I will start my presentation. So a lot of things are already said. So like Merlina introduced, normally now you see the presentation. Like Merlina introduced, we are normally a cultural center who does theater, dance, music, circus, but once in a 2 year we have a game festival. But the special thing about it is that we have the game festival in our old city theater. So I'm gonna show you a few images of it. So that's a bit the logo, the image of the festival, which we need to attract people. So playtime, I'm going to introduce to playtime, to our festival in a nutshell, in 1 minute. What are our ambitions? And then I come to the topic of today, how the sensory activities could take part of the festival, could make the festival more better. So in a nutshell, it's a biannual game festival in Bruges, in our old city theater. It's all about wonder and fun. So we focus on aesthetics, creativity, social relevance, because we want to make the link between the other things we present in the theater and the gaming. We aim for a young and diverse audience, so we do not aim in first instance to game developers. They are welcome too. We also have a one room with independent game developers from Belgium who can present their games also to the public. And another purpose we have with the festival is that the visitors discover this fantastic building in another way, in a whole other way. So I'm going to show you a few images. We also have the festival this next year, this season, from 7 to 10 March. Yeah, and we want to have at least 70 games that we can present. We want to have more independent developers than in 2022. Then we had 10. We want to have attention to international game installations, and we will also want to have a few game installations who go beyond the traditional controller screen ID. So just to have an image of it, that's the building where the game festival takes place. These are a few of the rooms we have. So that's the theater stage, with which we have a lot of possibilities to work with. So we also had, for instance, a virtual battle. Um, we also had a recycling game that we presented. Yeah, also we use every space in the building to present games. For instance, here you see that we also introduce games on the stairs. This is another room, but then I come to the purpose of this session today. It was a challenge for us to also introduce the sensory part of the games, that also the people can experience more than just playing a game, but also, yeah, experience the game in several ways. So, for instance, we had a collaboration with Devisch Arcade. This is a small studio with one person who is really a designer for with wood, and the other person is a game designer. So they create fantastic installations. But you see, in the installation, there's a lot of room or a lot of space to touch, to feel the games, not only to see the games or to play them with a controller, but also to play them in another way. For instance, here it's almost a physically game you have to play here. Um, this is also part of the installation, so you see the different colors, which is also part of the game. It's not only the game they play, but also how they see it, how they experience it. For instance, here we had also a game where they had to draw, so they really had to use the pencils. So it was not only playing the game with the controller, but really use physically use the pencils and to get them in your hands. Like here, this was a game which talked about all the struggles the young people have in their young ages. But every game was in another small room, so you experienced the game, and it was also with the color was matched to the room and to the sphere, to the atmosphere of the game. So you see also this physically part was important to experience the game as you wanted to. For instance, here, this was a game in which an artist presented his diary. But yeah, you see, it's more than just playing a game. The diary is there. You had to experience, you had to feel the diary. You can turn the pages, and then you can play the game by turning the pages. So that's a whole other way of playing a game than people are used to. And then the part that was most sensory or most related to the topic of today, that were the cooking games that were curated by Zoraida Butter. So we had a few cooking games with several controllers also, but we did also more than just presenting the games and the specific controllers. We also when you entered the room, you smelled the cooking part. So we added lots of things like a refrigerator, and so when you enter the room, you really experience that there are cooking games going on. Another thing we did is a game with moves, where so we also present contemporary dance, but in this workshop we combined the contemporary dance with a game. So one person had to draw lines to play a game, and the other person had to create the dancing part. So you see a lot of ways to more to more experience the game, to more experience the game with your senses. And yeah, for the next festival we are also looking for other ways. So that's why I'm also here. So yes, that's a bit a part of what we are going to do next time. It's our a few of the things we will do, but it's just in a nutshell. So I hope I stayed within my within my time. So I hand over to Merlina to introduce Heather.
Thank you, Peter. You was right in time. Perfect.
Okay.
Well, thank you very much for your presentation. And now I'm going to introduce Heather Kelley. Heather is an award-winning game designer, media artist, curator, and researcher. Her experimental work in game focuses on unique sensory effects, integrating perceptions of touch, smell, movement, sound, and nervous system responses. And since 2015, she has taught at the Entertainment Technology Center of Carnegie Mellon University, where she holds the title of Associate Teaching Professor. She also serves as a sensory director at Like Gallery for Independent Games and Playful Arts. Well, Heather is a founder of the experimental game collective Kokoromi, and her extensive career in game development includes the design and production of touchscreen vibrator controllers, AAA next-generation console games, interactive smart toys, mobile and handheld games, research games, installation games, and web communities for girls. So Heather will show us more case studies, and also with her we are going to develop ideas for a best practices kit created by her, which reimagines how we physically interact with games in exhibition settings. So Heather, I'll hand it over to you when you wish.
Great. Thanks a lot, Merlina. And I was really excited to see your presentation, Peter. There was so many cool projects. I definitely want to figure out what I can do there in the future. And also I want to say thanks to Lou and Marie Claire and Shalev, because this is like one of the best run online conferences I've ever been to. So like, cheers to you all. So yeah, I'll do my sharing now. Want to share that one. Share, and you will be overwhelmed by the colors green and blue. Yeah, so I was thinking about this practice I have at Like, and I'll get a little more into what that is. And I couldn't think of what there isn't really a word for it. I saw you used sensorify, like maybe it could be like you could think of a better word because that is not a real word in English. But essentially, like, what does this mean? It means adding sensory experiences to a game exhibit that are not on a screen and not coming out of speakers. So I've been doing this for about 6 years, and I wanted to be able to share some things that I learned. And also, I'll introduce this toolkit that was mentioned. It's kind of an exploratory first pass at a toolkit that will help you if you want to do the same thing. So, next slide. Yeah, I mentioned Like, and you might be wondering what that is. It's a space for independent games and playable arts here. I live in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, which is a medium-sized city in the US. It's about 6 hours west of New York City, if that helps anybody kind of situate where we're at. And it's a pretty small space. It's just 7 by 7 meters. And usually every month we show 5 or 6 games around a particular theme. It's a completely non-commercial gallery. And if you all know or know of Paolo Pedercini and or Molindustria, as you might know him, it's basically his baby, and it's literally his garage at his house. He co-runs it with his partner, Tenley Schmeida, who you actually see here in the picture, serving as an avatar for Natalie Lawhead when we had a solo exhibition of her work. And when Paolo launched Like, I saw a chance to sort of basically insert myself and jump in and do some of the things that I wanted to do with multisensory games or exploring multisensory involvement in games. So I invented the title sensory director and kind of voluntold Paolo that I'd be doing that. And that's how it got started. So I'm gonna show you some maybe examples from the past of Like and how different examples of what we've done, and take you through a little bit of the workbook that I've started putting together to help you if you want to do anything like that. So first, we'll jump in with scent. So that is definitely a sense that many people have not previously worked with in games, but it's one of my favorites. And this example here is we had a show that was about remixing old games like Mario and such called New Retro. And so thinking about like what's my memories of retro gaming or gaming when it wasn't retro, and it's that like nostalgic feeling. It's kind of a cliche actually in the United States to have like these really bad mass manufactured snacks called Hot Pockets that are like tiny pizzas, and the certain smell that they have. So I took the toaster oven into the gallery, as you see here, and basically roasted and served these little tiny pizzas during the exhibition, because for a lot of people that like memory of playing these retro games is very strongly associated with, you know, those snacks that they have when they were playing them. Another example are from Scent. There's one of the first exhibitions we did was called Labor Day, and it was all games around work and labor. And so I thought, well, you know, what does work smell like? It smells like really bad coffee in a carafe that's been sitting there for like 4 hours and is like burned on the bottom. And so we just went ahead and in this installation that Paolo was already planning to have for the Job Simulator game, or maybe it wasn't Job Simulator, it might be a different one, I'm not sure. But we just installed the coffee maker right in the gallery, so it was part of the installation, but also there was coffee overcooking on that burner. And then in another exhibit for a show called It's Complicated, which was about like romance, I researched what are considered the most erotic or most alluring smells for people. And the two that came up are pumpkin and lavender. So I just combined them and I made these pumpkin lavender tarts. And it was actually a recipe already online because other people had thought about this combination of the most arousing smells put together in the same thing. So I went ahead and did that. Okay, moving on. So here's like the first page of this workbook that don't have to memorize it. You're going to be getting a copy of it before the end of the talk. But I just started thinking about like what were the questions I had to answer, or what kind of things helped me you know, conceptualize what the smells might be. And also I learned a lot about what the technical requirements of using smell in an exhibit might be. And so these questions are meant to inspire you to think creatively about what kind of smells you might be able to use that reference the material in the exhibition that you have, and also what technical constraints you might have to consider if you're hoping to do that. So I'll be delivering this later, don't need to memorize. Moving on, talking about flavor, so things that you can taste. This image is from the show we had called Eye Attack, and it was about optical illusions. And so it occurred to me that perhaps we could talk about what are some taste illusions. And there's this berry called the miracle fruit that when you eat it, it changes your sensation of bitter and sour. So like if you eat something really sour like a lime or a lemon, it tastes like lemonade. So it tastes very sugary and sweet. So I just had the miracle berries and then also a little smorgasbord of different foods that you could taste along with that to have a taste illusion to go with the visual illusions. And then other things, we had an exhibit of Persian games, and I made a traditional chickpea flour cookie that's a characteristically Persian cookie called nakochi. And and we had an exhibit that was about kind of like called Other Futures, and it was sort of like a futuristic, not dystopian, but you know, game about what's going to happen, or show about games of what would happen in the future. And I just thought, wouldn't it be cool to like talk about future food? So those are edible insects. Unfortunately, my picture is not very clear, but those are like crickets and things like that. And there's the page of the workbook that's about things to think about if you're talking about including some food or flavorful things in your exhibit. Oh yeah, and an important note that goes along with the smell and the taste are that some people have allergies and sensitivities. You know, this is not a complete list, but there's definitely things you should think about. Like if you choose to include these things in your exhibit, is there a way to either contain them so that not everyone would experience them, or to at least inform people before they get into the space that smell or that food is present so they can make a decision about whether they will come in or experience it. Or if it's food, obviously, if they'll eat it or not. And then lastly, for touch, this is an exhibit we did called Citizen Canine, all games about dogs, and notoriously has a dog, a house dog named Harvey. That's him there. And Paolo and Tenley created a game called Flea City, which was actually played on the back of the dog and relied on these pieces to be staying stuck on Harvey. But if he lay down like that, then the pieces would be reorganized, let's say. And a couple other examples. The one on the left is from the show Last Stop, which is about public transportation. And yes, people are literally touching the wall and using that as a way to follow the path that they've got cards in their hands that try to instruct them to get from place A to place B. But the real thing with that exhibit cannot really be easily shown in the slideshow. It's a haptic installation. We had a giant subwoofer, like it was huge. And we installed that in the basement. We borrowed it from the school that a lot of us work at. And I just played a repeat of different subway and arrival and departure sounds really loudly. And because it's in the basement and the subwoofer was so big, it literally felt like the garage suddenly had become a subway station. And then the thing on the right is actually a game that, again, Paolo and Tenley collaborated on for a show called Fanciful Bodies, and it's called The Ills of Woman. And it's sort of like the old game, I forget what it's called now, but where you're trying to pull the organs out of the guy. And it's all about the different places in the woman's body that it used to be believed that her ovaries were like traveling around and you know, messing with her. So it's a satirical game based on that philosophy. And those are examples of things that you can do that are about either touching or about just the haptics and the physicalness of your body. And well, I don't have a lot of time. I'm running into the time that we wanted to do an activity. So I'll just say that you don't have to only have one of these senses. You can have something that's multiple senses, like the objects on the right are popsicles. So they're cold, but they also have a flavor. And then on the left, people are doing an experimental gingerbread house creation activity. So hopefully no one ate it after it was being played with too much, but it definitely had a smell and it was definitely a sense of touch. It was very sticky. So there's the questions that will be on the worksheet regarding touch. So the activity is, we'll go into breakout rooms, and here's an example of an exhibition that likely did in real life. And these are the real games that we showed. It was called Alien Gardening. This is a brief description of the exhibit itself, but there's also a link that will be shared with you. It's also on the screen, tinyurl.com/alien gardening. And that gives you a little bit more description of the game, since obviously you want your sensory installation to somehow be related to the material, and maybe it's specific to one game, or maybe it's something that everyone in the gallery experiences passively. But that is the little challenge that's being set before you now is think if you were trying to sensorify this particular exhibition, what smells or tastes or touchy things would you think to include? And it's a brainstorming exercise at this point, so go crazy.
Okay, so right now we are going to separate into, I think it's 3 groups. And each group will choose the sense that in which we will reflect, and maybe the game also, no, Heather, right? They can
Yeah,
choose the game and the sense.
Yeah, if you look at the games that are in this particular exhibit, maybe you actually have some ideas of other games that could be in this exhibit based on the description. But the idea is just to like, here's a constraint to get you started thinking about what would you do if you were trying to add sensory, new sensory stuff to this particular exhibit of pre-selected games.
Maybe we can explain for those who are not that familiar with the Zoom how to choose the rooms. We have 3 rooms, right?
Yeah.
Mary, you created those. We have touch, taste, and scent, and we are already seeing some people going. You can open the 3 dots, the 3 small dots that are on the on the low part of on the screen, and you can find the rooms. If you need help, just write the room that you want to be directed in the chat, and we take you there. And Heather will go jumping from one room to the other.
I'm glad you explained that because I'm still screen sharing, so I can't see the
Don't worry.
I'm going to assign people to rooms in the interest of time, and they can bounce around. So if you have a preference, choose your own room, and otherwise I'll send you somewhere because you'll be there for only about 5 minutes.
I will get into taste because I think there is only one person, so.
Getting the conversation started yet. Already, yeah.
Ah, okay. No, there's more people.
And everyone has the workbook? Okay,
Yes,
great.
I will jump into each room to share again the link. You have time to jump. You have like 10, 9, 8, or Mary will assign you to a room. And this is about having fun, remember.
Okay, I'll probably just stop
Okay.
so I can figure out how to hop.
Everyone is already in a room. And time is starting now. Awesome.
So where is it that I can see the dots that you're talking about? Oh, I can't hear you, Marie Claire. Uh-oh. Okay, I'll join.
Hey, Emily.
Hi, am I in the wrong?
Hi. No, you're okay. We're on break rooms. We're just
Oh, you're in
in
breakout room. Okay,
yes, we're doing an experimental session on senses, and you can choose if you want to jump into touch, taste, or scent.
Oh, what was the choice?
You have a touch, taste, or scent. Scent.
Oh, have you
Smell.
chosen one yet?
I'm jumping from one to the other. I'm just checking that everything one is
you're
okay.
switching, you're switching. Ah, I see.
Because Heather shared a handbook on how to work with the senses and make an experiential exhibit, and the idea now is to brainstorm around this.
Oh, cool.
Heather is in scent. I can take you there if you want.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Wait. There you go. Hola, Nico.
Hola.
¿Cómo estás? Estamos divididos en los cuartos de
Ah,
trabajo con una
perdón,
sesión así de brainstorming.
perdón que estaba en tránsito y acabo de volver a internet estable, así que ahí voy a estar entonces
Tranqui,
atento a ver
tranqui.
cómo va. ¿El link de la otra sesión la vas a poner ahí mismo?
Comparto acá así cuando termina. Todavía nos quedan 5 minutitos creo que de trabajo. Si querés saltar, te llevo.
Vale,
Hay un
mejor.
cuarto que es del tacto, otro es del gusto y otro es del olor, del olfato. ¿Cuál te
Vale. ¿Y
interesa?
la otra sesión a qué hora es? Porque si no, mientras
Ah,
me
vale.
instalo,
Claro, en 10 minutos. No,
listo.
mentira. A las 7. Falta. En 10 minutos
Vale,
termina esta.
vale, vale. Entonces entro a la otra para no quedar a la mitad
Dale,
entonces.
tranqui. Listo.
Listo.
Adiós.
So this is being recorded. Ugh.
Hey,
Okay,
Heather. Mary is
hi.
jumping from room to room in
Yeah,
warming time,
I want
and
to
she
be
will bring
sent
everyone.
into another group because I haven't had a chance. I hope we're not gonna push things over time too much.
Okay, so you have one room left to go?
I have 2 groups left to go, but I'll just go to one. Just to put me in the.
Okay. Where do you want to go? Sorry.
I went to smell already, so either touch or taste, please. Probably
Yeah.
touch.
Why can't I move you now?
Thank you.
No, it's just, but I can't move you now. I don't know why. I was assigning everyone to rooms and now I can't.
Well, worst case scenario, I'll just get a nice surprise when everybody comes back. Oh wait, I can see breakout.
Yes,
can-
okay, awesome.
I found it.
Thank you.
Cool. Looks like everybody's back. So, my thought for just the next 5 minutes is if people have things that they want to share that came up in their breakout rooms. And if we want, I can actually show you what we did do afterwards, but I'm not going to spoiler it. I'd rather hear people's ideas. How about we start with one of the groups just to make it easier
Yeah.
for something. Like
Okay.
I didn't get to go to the taste group. What were they up to?
Yeah, I was in the taste group. It was not easy because if you don't know the games, yeah, we could imagine a lot of games where the smell with if you talk about soil, yeah, you can do things to smell with soil, but to taste, it's more difficult. So we didn't find a really a good solution. What I also experienced that if we're thinking about it, people that are thinking about it are immediately thinking about yeah doing it like a game. So if you do something with taste, you have to make a small game with it, or you have to create a game with taste in it. So yeah, it's I think it's not that easy to really think about this to sensorify like you told. It's really about to have this experience for all the senses when you play a game. So it's another thing than playing a game with taste or with yeah. That was a bit the thing I experienced in our group.
How about, since we're gonna have to end up in a few minutes, something from the touch group?
I was in that group, but I don't know if anyone want to share. We talk about different games and ideas. We talk a lot about plants, what it's like suppressive because touch and plants is like, well, it's something that can happen, but it's not maybe the most expected. And also because about putting the hands on the earth for the food, and also how to touch something, but this could be translated into music. Or also we thought about maybe not touching plants because maybe plants doesn't want to be touched, but to control this interaction with air temperature or something that doesn't imply directly touch but involves touch. And if someone can want to add something about what we talk or your impressions or the brainstorming, this is just a short version.
I'll say in the 6 seconds I was in. Oh, is somebody gonna have something to contribute? I don't want to jump in.
No, maybe we can go to the other groups just to have a vision of everyone, no? Right? To the sent group.
I'll briefly add that in the very short amount of time I was in the touch group, someone brought up something about the air temperature, and I thought that was interesting. What about humidity? I mean, computers hate humidity, but plants love it. So maybe there'd be something where the touch is actually the sensation on your skin. It doesn't have to be something you put your hand on. Okay, so smell.
I guess I'll speak. I think that we discussed a few different subjects and ways of developing mechanics, and one idea suggested related to Fragrantica, which is, as you may be aware, a website to read about the notes of most commercial fragrances on the market, and there's a polling system, etc. It became an interesting idea to think about having to decipher what the notes are potentially of a scent as a gamified experience. Perhaps that was one idea that we discussed.
I think one that jumped out at me when I was in that group is somebody was talking about the change that natural scents have over time. Like something, I don't know if this is what was said, but it was something like, you know, the flower blooms and you smell the flower, and then after that, maybe you smell the fruit, but then after that, it rots, and that has a different smell. And then finally, because I compost, it's like amazing how you think, oh, this stuff is going to smell terrible, but it's all this rotten stuff. But once it gets, you know, eaten by some microorganisms, it starts to smell like dirt, and it smells really good. So that got my mind going. And so I'll just like briefly share what we actually did for this particular exhibition. It's just one picture. So Pablo did wire in some plants, and we used the plants to control the game Alien Garden. So it already is a little bit of like a game of life simulation-y thing, and it was reading directly from the electrical impulses of the plants. And so if you touched various plants, you could sort of roughly influence the direction that the game was going. You couldn't directly control it, of course. Like that's a little bit, but that's what we did.
Well, thank you very much, Peter and Heather. It was amazing to hear you. And thank you for the audience also. And remember that you can continue the discussion on our Discord. And well, the next panel, I don't know if you are going to join, but I think that it will be super interesting. It's about caring and curating indigenous games. So, well, I hope I see you again, and I hope you the best wishes for your projects.